After a decade without any title, Red Bull finally regained its place at the top with Verstappen's World Championship last season. And this year, they've just doubled down by winning the constructors title as well. But with the team already looking miles ahead of the competition, are we heading into a period of Red Bull domination? Well, in today's video, we're gonna dive deep and see just how far they can go. So keep watching. First off, Red Bull has got the ingredients to keep pushing. Some might say that the team's constructors title win in Austin was a moment of relief, as they finally managed to get over the line after chasing that trophy for almost a decade. But in reality, it was an announcement. Red Bull is back, and it's here to dominate just like it did all those years ago. They've got a hungry young driver leading the charge, and Christian Horner's still as witty as ever. Oh, and let's not forget the mastermind himself, Adrian Newey, continues to fire on all cylinders as well. It's almost like a ditto copy of what happened with Sebastian Vettel all those years ago. And if you remember, Seb went on to absolutely dominate the sport and win 4 world titles in a row. Now, of course, not everything's the same, but that doesn't have to be a bad thing. In fact, if anything, it's to the team's advantage, as they've spent a decade being the underdogs, chasing Mercedes year after year. Plus, it's not like they've taken their foot off the gas either, as most people would say that they've been the most consistent team apart from the Silver Arrows in the turbo hybrid era. Still, even though the stars have aligned for them right now, there are no guarantees for the future. After all, Formula One is a brutal and unpredictable sport. Like, things can go south really quick here. So before we can make any definitive judgment, let's dissect the ingredients we've got to really hone in on our answer. Up next, just how far ahead is Verstappen? We get it, a driver is only as fast as his car, but the level of performance that we've seen from Max Verstappen this year is truly incredible. Remember, he started the season with a bunch of DNFs, so to not only recover from that, but to also go on and dominate like he's done just can't be undermined. Like, the dude has literally set a new world record for the most race wins in a season. Sure, we've got more races than ever before, and Ferrari has imploded in a bunch of races as well. Still, none of that should take away just how impressive the Flying Dutchman's been. Oh, and just to put things into perspective, he has led 48% of the laps this season. Yeah, you heard that right. He's been ahead of the pack for that long. What's more, the guy in second is Leclerc, and guess how many laps he has led? Well, we're gonna give you a hint. It's not even close. The Monegasque has only led about a quarter of the laps this year, which, albeit impressive, is nowhere near where he should have been after that insane start. What's more, the reigning world champion is also really close to outscoring the entire Mercedes team in terms of points. And if that doesn't show how far ahead of the pack he is, we don't know what will. And for Red Bull to maintain its era of dominance, they'll need him firing on all cylinders for many more years to come. Not to mention, Verstappen is still very young. Now, of course, everyone and their grandma knows that Max Verstappen is quick, but when it comes to a dominant era, it's more of a marathon than a sprint. After all, even Fernando Alonso was rapid during his early days at Renault, so it all comes down to whether the Dutchman can reproduce his performances for a few more years while staying at Red Bull. You might say that this is a non-issue since he's still only 25, but we've seen drivers peak at this age before too, only to fall off a cliff. Besides, there are no guarantees that he's going to be as dedicated to the sport in the long run as Hamilton or Alonso. In fact, he's even said that he doesn't want to continue racing into his 30s and wants to enjoy other aspects of life instead. Oh, and there's the contract situation. Currently, Verstappen's got 5 more years on his Red Bull deal, which is supposed to run until 2028. Once it expires, though, we don't know if he's even going to be in the sport or not. Keeping all these things in mind, it's actually pretty tricky to figure out what the next few years are going to look like for the team. If he manages to win 4 out of the next 5 titles, then sure, that's a dominant era. But again, we're not in the early days of the turbo hybrid era anymore, and the gulf in class between the teams isn't as wide as it used to be a decade ago. What's more, Mercedes is definitely going to make a comeback. Whenever there's a big regulation shakeup in Formula One, we're bound to get some winners and some losers, and that's what happened this time around too. Both Ferrari and Red Bull nailed their chassis designs for the ground effect era, while the ever-present Silver Arrows failed to harness the potential of their zero-pod concept. That's just how it goes though, since these things are based more on trial and error than anything else. As the season progressed, however, Mercedes has grown into a competitive team. In fact, they've nabbed podiums left, right, and center over the past few Grand Prix. Besides, we wouldn't put it past them to bring an entirely new car to Bahrain next year either. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what everyone's expecting, as both Toto Wolff and Lewis Hamilton have been teasing just how far they've come. And according to them, they've already figured out a pretty solid foundation for next year. What's more, the 7-time world champion hasn't lost his mojo at all and has only grown stronger as the season has progressed. So things are falling into place for them as well, and we fully expect them to make the jump to the top of the grid next year for a real title fight. After all, the fact that they've come from so far behind to almost overtaking Ferrari for that runners-up spot in the Constructors' Championship should be enough of an omen of things to come. They've got the momentum to make the comeback of a lifetime. Following up, the budget cap controversy has changed things. Speaking of Mercedes making a comeback, there's also a chance of Red Bull falling backward. But wait, aren't teams supposed to make steady progress as they get to grips with their new chassis designs? Well, yes. At the same time, though, the energy drinks outfit is going through a bit of a tumultuous situation right now. You see, they breached their cost cap for last season and are now being punished for it. Whether they did it on purpose to gain an advantage or it was a simple accounting error is a whole other debate. The fact of the matter is that they've been hit with not only a fine, but a pretty significant reduction in their wind tunnel time as well. If you didn't already know, testing your car in a wind tunnel to see the airflow and aero efficiency is extremely important for any team. In fact, a 10% decrease in testing time could literally result in a 0.2 pace difference on the track. So, as things stand right now, Red Bull has got a handicap on their hands, and if they don't significantly improve their design for next season, they actually run the risk of receding backwards. That being said, they're already so far ahead right now that a 1/10 difference probably wouldn't hurt them too much, unless someone like Mercedes makes a significant improvement. Finally, new engine regulations are just around the corner. Alright, let's assume that everything goes according to plan for Red Bull, and they do go on to win 3 more championships after this. Would that count as a period of dominance? Probably, but continuing their reign after that is going to be incredibly hard, because, well, we're seeing the biggest regulation change in the sport since the switch to turbo hybrid powertrains. Not only does the energy drinks outfit not have someone like Honda to support them heading into this new era, but the competition is also getting better. Audi, for instance, is going to buy Sauber and turn it into another wealthy works team. Plus, you can never count Mercedes or Ferrari out when it comes to engine power. Oh, and even the likes of McLaren and Alpine could have some secret aces up their sleeve. That being said, all of these things are nothing but wild speculation, so if we really take everything at its face value and where it's going, then it'd be hard to bet against Red Bull having a long stretch of success right now. What do you think, though? Can they maintain their current consistency levels and dominate the sport for the next few years? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.
And now he's been challenged as Perez by Kevin Magnussen. Leclerc into turn 4 from Verstappen. Sainz.
Knowing, there was a title at stake. And then, throughout the race as well, the roller coaster.
Leclerc, Carlos Sainz is forced to the outside. Max Verstappen getting keen on the inside with Carlos Sainz, but Perez.
What happened at the end is, of course, very frustrating, but also before that, quite a few issues where, first of all,
the place as we head now down towards turn 3. There's Esteban Ocon having a move on Daniel Ricciardo. Leclerc goes through from.
And you have to go for it, and we did. So, yeah, incredible. I mean. Insane.
Leclerc, little slower, getting off the line, and he's already been passed by Sergio Perez. Verstappen leads.
The hard was definitely the turning point.
So you think that it should not have been done?
Well, I mean, we will look.
It's a decent reaction from Max Verstappen, but Carlos Sainz is ahead of him. Leclerc into the first turn. It's wheel to wheel Verstappen.
So I'm on the right, but he didn't want to overtake and